Welcome in everybody to another edition of BC Buckets versus series, where today we're going to be looking at Tari Eason and Jeremy Sochan, two players that I've watched a lot of. And Colin, I think this is going to be a very, very interesting debate here between two players that I look at as pretty similar in a lot of ways. Tari Eason maybe more of a forward, Jeremy Sochan maybe more as a wing, but still two players at around 6'8", 6'9" that have a lot of similarities, especially on the defense side of the ball. So I think, do you want to go first with Sochan?
Think you should go first because you cover LSU. You gotta
I do.
yeah.
Right
See,
there. There
so
they are.
let's hear what you got for Eason.
All right, Tari Eason, man. This is weird talking about a guy's NBA draft, you know, um, status after covering him for a year. He did transfer to LSU after spending a year at Cincinnati. He's 21 years old. Averaged, I mean, it was pretty clear early in the season. I don't want to go on a tangent about any of this, but it was pretty clear early in the season he was the best player, but he came off the bench and we didn't really know what to make of him. And then once conference season came around, even before that, you could kind of just tell, all right, this guy's figuring it out. And he was a monster. 17 points per game, 6.6 boards, 1.9 steals, one block. LSU was one of the best defensive teams in the country, and he was a huge reason why. He's has a 7'2" wingspan. He's quick. He has really good instincts on defense, being able to block shots, take the ball away, as evidenced from his steal numbers. Um, he's extremely switchable. Guards 1 through 5 really well. Maybe, obviously I don't expect him to guard Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic is, but for normal fives, I think he has a chance there. So defensively, he's an absolute monster, which I know Sochan is as well. But I think his athleticism and his ability to attack offensively is different. And I think that's what I'm excited to see. There were times where he could get out of control. He did have some turnover problems, some fouling problems on both ends. But when he was able to get downhill, when he was able to get a step on guys, there was really no stopping him. He's a tremendous finisher. He can dunk on people. He also has some nice touch around the rim and could pull up for mid-range jumpers. And his three-point shot got better as the year went on. So that's basically Tari Eason in a nutshell. I was really, really pleased to see him continue to rise up the draft boards because I love him as a prospect.
So I agree with everything you said because yeah, he's a monster, and I guess you kind of get that when we talk about these early pick guys. But cons for Eason
Do you want
for
to
me.
go? Do you want to go cons? Do you want to go Jeremy Sochan first?
You want me to just go Jerry? I'll go Jeremy Sochan.
Yeah, go.
So like you already said, defensively they're both very good defenders, right? Jeremy Sochan, I think that's his translatable skill. He can step right away in the NBA, and I think he can guard position 1 through 4, and then 5 as well because he's 6'10", 230. I think that on top of that, it kind of he's very good playmaker. I think he just kind of makes stuff happen with his hustle. He averaged just under 2 assists per game, but I think he passes the eye test when it comes to making that extra pass, kind of handling the ball in his hands. He's not scared of it, and I like that about him. I also think that his cutting and finishing are where he's going to shine early. I think that he's not going to be a guy. Obviously, he's not a great 3-point shooter, but I think most of his offense will come from the dunker spot, drop offs, things like that. And I think he has pick and pop potential if he's able to develop that shot. On top of that, in the half court, he was very good. He shot 67.2% in the half court, and I think that that's part because of his body control. And I think that that's going to be the reason why he's kind of like the reason a team wins in the NBA. He's not necessarily going to be the best player. He's not going to be the guy. He's not going to be the second guy, but I think he's going to be the reason why a very good team wins a lot of games in the NBA.
Both of these guys played some 5 in college as well. Especially for Baylor when Jonathan Chawachacho went down, they had to go small at times. But I think one of the differences is the force that they play with, which can work against Tari Eason in a lot of ways. I just feel like, I'm not saying their motor is different, but how they attack is different. There were times where I thought Jeremy Sochan was a little passive. There were times where I kind of wanted him to be more of a scorer at times. And obviously on that Baylor team, they had enough scores where they didn't really need him. LSU needed Tari Eason, and I think that maybe forced him into those turnovers, forced him into those fouls, to where you look at those as a negative. I'm just going to get ahead of those right now. I think that he was just asked to do a lot on that LSU team. So Jeremy Sochan was able to slide right in, be the third, fourth best player on that Baylor team at times, and be kind of comfortable. Obviously, I just think Tari Eason has a little bit more pop to him, especially when attacking the rim. I mean, you saw all those dunks that he's able to throw down.
Yeah, I mean that's a con for me for Sohan actually is the fact that he's not so vertical, he's not explosive. But I don't think that's going to be his role in the NBA. I think it's going to be a Draymond Green type guy, a Ben Simmons but not scared of hitting a layup type guy. I don't think he's going to ever be a number one, number two option in the league. I just think that he's going to be a guy that comes and plays defense, makes plays, makes things happen, and makes a lot of winning plays. But for the cons for Tari Eason, I feel like that's kind of he has to kind of be a guy because obviously he can be right. Like we already talked about the pros, he's able to finish, he is shooting, and he shoots well from free throw line, so that's only going to improve. I think where the issues come from is the playmaking and getting sped up. I think the fact he averaged 2.2 turnovers compared to 1 assist per game. He turns the ball over on 13.5% of his plays. He loses the ball, and you can tell me better because obviously I haven't watched as much. He can lose the ball with a little resistance, and I feel like that's the issue, right? He gets sped up, and I feel like that's going to hurt him in the half court. And I feel like since the NBA is not just running back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, that's going to be an issue.
No, you definitely saw plenty of turnovers. Not just from him, that entire LSU team was
Yeah,
turning the ball over everywhere. But yeah, it's like I said, it was a tough situation at times. Their offense was outside of the top 80 the entire year, pretty much, and especially in the half court, they really struggled at times. So I think what you're getting in Tari Eason. I think he's a little bit more of a finished product, which maybe that hurts his upside a little bit to people. Maybe it doesn't. But I think if nothing else, you look at him, he's going to be able to step in and defend at a high level. He's going to be able to be a vertical threat at times, be a guy who can dunk on people. I'm trying to think of comparisons other than OG Anunoby because I don't think he's OG Anunoby completely. But when DeAndre Hunter came into the league as just a straight defender that could shoot a little bit, I think Eason comes in with the ability to defend, and then his transition game, which I haven't even talked about a lot. In transition, he's going to be tough to stop in the NBA. Like in college, he was impossible to stop. In the NBA, he's going to be very, very difficult to stop in transition. Him with a head of steam he's a monster. He's an absolute monster. So I think Tari Eason, even though I am concerned about the discipline, the fouling, the turnovers, all that, his shooting potential is there. And I think because of his defense, he'll be able to get on the court early and develop his game outside of just being a guy that can get downhill and dunk on people. But even if that's all he is, I think he still carves out a really good role for himself in the NBA. Jeremy Sohan, I think a lot of what you said, you covered a lot of it, but I never watched Baylor games and was like, okay, Jeremy Sohan will get a bucket. Give him the ball.
but I don't think that's his role.
Well,
I don't
even if
think,
he doesn't,
but I don't think that'll ever be his role. I don't think when I look at Jeremy Sohan, I don't think the shot develops. I think he'll be able to hit some threes. He'll have some streakiness between games, but I think it's going to be all defensive type player. Like that's going to be his peak, obviously. Almost like I don't even know if this is a good comparison because I wasn't able to watch him a lot. Tony Allen type guy. He's not going to get you anything on offense. He's a defensive guy.
The thing is, I think, and we're again comparing these two players. I think that's the difference here. I think Eason has the potential to be a good offensive player here.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. I think he has a little bit more offensive pop than Sohan at this point. So that's where I think Eason is going to be is the better prospect here, and I think he might be getting overlooked. Some people have Eason kind of like a 15 range or so, and
I think that's low. I
I
think
think
that's low.
that's kind of low, But Jeremy Sohan's usually comfortably top 10, top 12 range. But yeah, I think the offensive Tari Eason is why because both these guys are great defenders. I think if Eason can round out his offensive game, I think he has the chance to be a better all around player.
I think just to stay on that point, I think Eason has way better offensive production than Sochan, but I think Sochan has the playmaking upside more so than Eason does at this point. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of where they differ offensively. But yeah, no, I mean, I think they're both great prospects. What are your comparisons for Eason comps? Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I think OG Anunoby was an interesting one because if he develops his game in that way, like OG Anunoby came in as a straight defender with athleticism. If he develops his game in that way, I could see that role. And for those who don't, I mean, I love OG Anunoby just as watching him play. I mean, he's incredible. I thought DeAndre Hunter as a prospect is interesting because of his defensive ability. I have written down for Jeremy Sohan like an Aaron Gordon. I think Aaron Gordon could kind of apply to both these guys. I think Tari Eason maybe even more so because of his ability to dunk on people
Yeah,
and
his
maybe like
athleticism.
a younger Aaron Gordon. So yeah, I think those are the comps that I'm looking at this point. How many do you have for Sohan?
I already mentioned him, Ben Simmons and Draymond Green. I think
Okay.
that's kind of the role. Well, minus having the ball in your hands is Ben Simmons, but you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
when I say that, for Easton, I actually have Jeremy Grant. I think that's a good one, just because he's Pistons got to bring him in somehow, right?
Right.
I think that obviously on the Nuggets, he was the defender. He have some offensive production, but then he comes to a worse team, and then he's able to have a borderline all-star type production. And I think that Eason, like you said, he projects to where he's going to come and play defense, and then he's able to hopefully put those things together and become a plus offensive player.
Yeah. All right. That's all we have for y'all today. We hope y'all enjoyed this episode and this debate on Tari Eason and Jeremy Sohan. Let us know in the comments who you believe to be better. Um, Obviously, I'm a little biased with LSU here, but that's okay. Leave us a comment, like, subscribe, share it with a friend. Who do you think is better here? You can follow us on Twitter at BC Buckets right there. Thank y'all for joining us, and we'll talk to y'all later.